20 years later, I still think that the best Star Wars game ever made came out in 2004. The second best came out a year after. Star Wars Battlefront. And the way they were built to be played, massive battles online, you can barely reach anymore. I'll get to why. But first, let me take you back, because to understand these games, you have to understand the kid who couldn't stop playing them. When I was a kid, the scariest word I knew was war. But put Star in the front of it and the fear just left. It stopped being a word about pain. It became a place I wanted to live. A galaxy with Jedi, with Sith, with desperate clones and endless droid armies. Before any game, there was the backyard. I was the one who dragged Star Wars into the other kids. We ran around the yard swinging sticks, fighting for a free galaxy. We were Jedi. One kid fired a blaster. Another stood this with his eyes bulging, shooting force lightning at everyone. Pure, stupid, beautiful chaos. The problem with being a Jedi in real life is the bruises. We keep cracking each other with those sticks by accident, and slowly the game got pushed away. So the question becomes simple. If my own backyard couldn't hold the whole galaxy, what could? Back then, games didn't come from a store. They came through people. Friend to friend, hard drive to hard drive. No online, no accounts, just data passed around like rumors. One day I came out from school, dropped my bag and sat down at the computer like every other afternoon. And there it was. Right next to the Jedi Academy shortcut sat a new one. My dad had pulled it there. A stormtrooper helmet, staring back at me off the desktop. Cold, blank, waiting. I didn't click it straight away, I just sat there with my hand on the mouse, thinking, what is this? I lived inside the Jedi Academy for a year and a half, and now something new was sitting right next to it. Not just new, bigger. It didn't promise one guy with a lightsaber, it promised the whole war. Star Wars Battlefront 2004, made by Pandemic, published by LucasArts. It launched the same day the original trilogy hit DVD. They wanted you holding the films in one hand and the war in the other. Between them, the disc and the game moved at $115 million in a single day. I clicked it, new page, new galaxy. I can't really describe what hit me in that first match. Naboo, gun guns against the droid army, and I wasn't one hero running around the level, I was one body in a battle that filled the whole map. I was a droid. Around me gun guns charged in riding Kadu, they native Naboo mounts. Behind them, the huge Femba hold shield generations on their backs, and those shields were the objective. You had to push in, get under them and bring the whole thing down. Droid tanks rolling forward, turrets to jump on, speeder bikes, aircraft, soldier classes that each played different, and droid deckers, the rolling ones. I ran, I fell, I grabbed a turret and just held the line. I was in total shock. The deeper I went, the more it kept opening up. Multi-layered maps across different planets, each one a place I'd actually seen in a film. This wasn't a level, it was the war, the Star War. And between missions, the game didn't cut to some slick animation. It played actual clips from the movies, grainy, low resolution, pulled straight out of the film. One moment you watch a battle on screen, the next you were standing inside it. The line between playing Star Wars and watching it just dissolved. For a kid in mid-2000s, this was the peak. Not a good Star Wars game, the peak. There was nothing bigger. More than 4 million people bought it. But there was one ache. One thing that first Battlefront would not give me. The Jedi were in the game. Mace Windu on Geonosis, carving through droids, Vader stalking through Mos Eisley, cutting down rebels, and I could not be them. In the first game, the heroes were AI only, one per side, dropped on the field by the computer, and they were basically gods. They deflected every shot, explosions did nothing to them, one swing of the saber and you were gone. You couldn't control them, and the only way to even kill one was to show it off the edge of the map. So I just watched. I watched a Jedi do everything I came to Star Wars to do, and I sat there as a trooper, drooling with envy and literally growing at the screen. Different modes, different maps, and underneath all of it, you were bone-crushing combat. That was the whole game, and it was enough, almost. Almost because the one thing is refused to give me, the next game already had. I just hadn't met it yet. The second Battlefront actually came out just a year later, in 2005, but it didn't reach me until 2, maybe 3 years and after that. Remember, games in Ukraine came to us the slow way. And I'll be honest with you, at first it didn't hit me like the first one did. The menu felt colder, less welcoming, the look was a little off, maybe just because everything around had gotten prettier by then. And then gameplay still felt a bit stiff, a bit clunky, the way the first one did. I remember thinking, strange, that's kinda it? Okay, fine, it's still Star Wars game. And then I found it. You can play as the freaking Jedi. Forget everything I just said, forget all of it. This was the Battlefront that fixed the one real problem of the first game, the exact thing I had growled at the screen about. They handled it to me. I could finally be the hero instead of watching one. And once the wall came down, the rest poured in. Now you could fly out of your own capital ship, cut across the battle, slip inside the enemy and tear it apart from the inside. And then there was the campaign. The first game spliced in clips from the movies. This one told its own story. The whole thing is carried by a single voice, a veteran clone looking back on his war. He's voiced, by the way, by Temuera Morrison, the actor who actually played Jango Fett, the template every single clone was grown from. The clone army was quite literally narrated by its own face. His story marches you from Geonosis all the way to Order 66, storming the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, turning your guns on the Jedi generals you've been taking orders from a few nations earlier. You watched the Republic you bled or quietly become the Empire. The 501st even earns its new name for it, Vader's Fist. Same toy box as the first game, clone troopers, stormtroopers, droids, starfighters, except now the heroes were yours too. 6 million copies by 2007. People didn't just play Battlefront II, they moved in. And the thing that pulled you in the deepest wasn't any single battle, it was a map, Galactic Conquest. The first game had a rough version of it. Battlefront II turned it into a strategy board for the whole galaxy. You moved fleets, took planets one at a time, and spent what you earned on better troops and heroes for the next fight. When 2 fleets hit the same system, it dropped you into a space battle to settle it. Whole evening disappeared into one campaign for the galaxy. Here's the part that still stings. Those battles, the real ones against other people, ran an old service called GameSpy. On May 31st, 2014, GameSpy was switched off and the official online for Battlefront II went dark with it. And it didn't die alone. That shutdown pulled the plug on hundreds of games in a single day. Battlefront II was just one of around 50 EA titles switched off at once. A game built around massive multiplayer wars, and one day, the wars just stopped answering. The community kept patches of it alive through workarounds, because of course they did. But the front door was bricked up. The thing that made these games legendary became the thing you had to fight to even reach. So that's where I land 20 years on. The first Battlefront made me part of the films. The second one finally let me be the hero inside them. 2 games made a year apart that I still haven't seen beaten. Not the sequels, not the reboots. And that's exactly the problem, because in 2015, a much bigger company looked at all of this, decided they could do it better, and charged us to find out. That you will see in part 2.